Please welcome to the stage RJ Larice, Isaac Ugay, Lloyd D'Souza, and Andrew Wallenstein.
Buddy, good to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. I want to start by turning it over to our panelists here to introduce themselves briefly, and we'll get into it from there.
Yeah, so I'm Lloyd D'Souza. I'm the global head of video at Condé Nast. So I oversee all our video production and creative, from commercial video to editorial video to our consumer revenue, live events, live shopping, across our entire portfolio around the world.
And I'm Isaac Ugay. I'm the Vice President of Premium Solutions over at Fandom. I oversee all of our branded content, internal events, external events, and yeah, excited to be here.
And I'm RJ Larice. I oversee everything influencer and creator related within different parts of Paramount. So putting creators in scripted, unscripted, behind the scenes, brand deals, events, everything, all our ambassador programs, all of it.
Terrific. So obviously, this is all about working with creators. So let's go back to each of you to just give an overview of how you do that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll start. So, when we work with creators, it's sort of, the way I work with creators and our team and our content teams work with them, it's two sides of the coin. So there's one is obviously the branded partnerships, our commercial partnerships, where we have a talent team that basically finds creators that fit into the kind of storytelling we want to do with our brand partners, that either fit the aesthetics of our editorial or are sometimes just brand ambassadors or fans of the brands that are working with us. And on the editorial side, we use creators as contributors for our video content or social content. A good example of this is Joe Holder, who we brought in, and he works for GQ Sports essentially as an editor, a contributing editor, but then we utilize him for branded partnerships as well.
Yeah, and so I work primarily on branded partnerships. In the marketing org, we're supporting the sales org to really define any sort of custom program that's going to drive a brand forward. So we really have to think about balancing the fandom brand and voice with the creator's brand and voice with the brand's brand and voice. And so we do a lot of programming around building a program that is front and center for the IP, as well as something that is contextually relevant and interesting and exciting for the fans of the creator.
And then on my front, creators are celebrities to our audience, and so we work with them everywhere, whether it's behind the scenes, looking at scripts, we have development deals with creators, we do the standard brand partnerships, we have events like Kids' Choice Awards, but I think, are experts at looking at something and thinking, creators are amazing, what can we do that's really gonna that no one else has done before that only we can offer them, and we develop something around it. So we know creators want to be in scripted, they want to be voices and animation, so we give them those opportunities, and then we do the brand deals, we do the events, we do everything else too, but the goal is to make creators' dreams come true, and then work with them in a variety of different ways across all of our portfolio.
So there's a lot of different ways you guys work with brands, creators, I should say, but I wanted to put sort of two big buckets here to help organize the conversation in terms of how brands work and let's call the other editorial, although that means a lot of different things. Let's just stick to the brand side for a second. What are some of the trends that you guys are seeing right now that the audience really needs to know about in terms of working with creators? Not a new business, but it's constantly changing. Anyone want to take that first?
Yeah, I can start. Relationships. I think creators have realized when brands are using them, and they notice it pretty quickly, and they don't want that, obviously. And so I think having good relationships with talent and trying to figure out ways to make them happy, do what they want to do while also working for me with the traditional media brand is, I think, really popular. I think you're seeing a lot of talent people actually really being a part of the influencer community. People know my team's name. People know who I am. And I think that instead of just being a name behind an email, having a personal relationship with creators is extremely important right now because people are noticing when it's a little bit more transactional.
I think to add on to what you're saying, it's one trend that we're seeing, and I talk to my senior manager of brand and content about this almost every day, is longer term partnerships. I think there was a lot of sort of fly by the night, what does it cost? It's very transactional and very tactical. But one thing that's really important to the fandom brand and to our brand partners is what is our relationship? Like if authenticity is sort of like thrown around like a disfluency, we need to find a way for it to be an extension of who we are, for it to be meaningful to the brand. So really sort of seeing that longer term partnership with the creators as collaborators, as consultants is definitely a trend that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think over the past few years, a lot of brands have spent more on performance marketing, and so it was buying for scale, buying for reach very broadly. I think you're seeing a flight to creativity now with brands where they're realizing that the value of a brand, the amount of investment into brand marketing, into brand affinity comes with a higher long-term return, especially when the market's saturated with D2C and competing with these bigger brands. So you're looking at these partnerships that aren't just one-offs, but like they said, it's longer-term partnerships with people who actually resonate with the brand and can be brand ambassadors, not just talent in a brand spot.
But how do you guys, I hear everything you're saying, relationships, long-term, but that all involves pairing the right creator with the right brand. You guys are in the middle of that. How do you do that well?
So we, fandom's massive. We've got like 350 million unique users every month. So we have a lot of data that shows what fans are interested in. So it's not just, I'm a fan of Pokemon, it's a very specific character or a very specific feature of that character. And so we're able to take the insights from the platform and actually identify a creator who is also interested in those things, also excited to share that with their community. So we're able to, really cull down the list of the creators to make sure it's a fit for whatever the message might be.
For us, we have a lot of popular IP. So for us, example, SpongeBob. We released a Krabby Patty this past week. It's in Wendy's. Oh, yay, woohoo! Hashtag ad. Go get it at Wendy's. But in addition to Wendy's, we also released it at 250 plus restaurants globally in major markets who did their interpretation of a Krabby Patty. So in LA, Fat Sal's has it, but also so does Pizzeria Mozza. They have their own version of it. We did an event on Monday where we gave creators the first bites of those burgers that anyone was going to get. And we designed that event around the fact that culinary creators have been making their own versions of Krabby Patties for years. We've not paid them. It's not influencer marketing that we've done. They're just doing it. So now that we did it, we designed an event completely around that. And we invited creators who had made their own versions of Krabby Patties before. So we look, when it's the Kids' Choice Awards, for example, this was a big SpongeBob year. We looked at people who made SpongeBob videos in the past, and we rewarded them for their fandom by giving them once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to engage with that. So for us, a lot of times we're looking at the IP, we're looking at people who are organically fans, and if they haven't made a video, we're paying them to make the coolest first video they could ever make.
Yeah, for us, like our value is our brands and like what they mean and what they have meant for years. But really, it's like our brands are built with the intention and with the taste of our editors-in-chiefs and our editors. So when we do programs with creators, either editorial or branded, the selection process is on one hand done with our partners, with a partner like CreatorIQ, but at the end, it's done through our editorial staff. Taste is a premium that we provide, and so when we do brand partnerships, our editor-in-chiefs generally know who we're working with. Like, I guarantee every creator project, influencer, brand partnership we've done with Vogue, Anna Wintour has watched that video, or everyone knows she might watch that video, so the decision needs to be made that it feels like Vogue, it hits Vogue's aesthetics, it hits Vogue's following, there's adjacencies to what we're doing in Vogue right now.
And we're sitting here talking about creators as if it's like one monolithic thing, but really, you know, you've got your major stars, you've got some more niche players in all sorts of different places. Are we at the place now in this market where it's not just about, oh, the biggest person, biggest following, insert here?
Yes, I think you are. I think it's a mixed approach. So I'm going to keep using the same example, so I apologize. But Kids' Choice Awards this year was very SpongeBob related. And we didn't just want the biggest SpongeBob creators. We also wanted highly engaged people that maybe only had 15,000, 20,000 as their following, but they've been posting about it nonstop. And we would hop on Zoom with them just to make sure that they were normal at first, just to check, to meet them before we invite them to be at a big event. But we'd meet them and say, hey, we're going to give you an invite this year. And they would like have tears in their eyes. They were so excited. They've been so dedicated. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach where you're bringing in the big zeitgeisty people and you're also bringing in the small, dedicated communities. And I think that's the smart way to serve an audience who's a fan of something.
I think it's also really important kind of to apply this human lens to our selection, because there's a lot of biases that I see in tools in just the way that we're categorizing creators. And so having a good mix, right? I think having a good mix of the A-listers to, you know, have that shotgun blast. But we did a program not too long ago with Fanta, and we were looking for real authenticity around the horror genre. And so we were able to identify a creator named Monse, and it was her very first brand deal. And the ROI in working with her was beyond our expectations. Her fans were celebrating the fact that she did her first brand deal. And now I think she's definitely grown. But for us to make that conscious choice and make the recommendation to Coca-Cola and for them to believe in it was a choice, a very conscious choice.
Yeah, I think we look at our whole portfolio as a way of finding the niches and reaching those niche audiences, but it's part of like an overall strategy. So, like for example, with L'Oreal, we'll use a brand ambassador like Kendall Jenner in a Beauty Secrets on YouTube that has millions of views and it has that large reach and that large scale. But in that same program, we'll build a very niche, very focused strategy with Allure, with beauty creators on social. And that'll be part of the overarching campaign that all kind of interconnects with each other. The messaging is the same, but the interactions with these niche creators on Allure actually drives more engagement, drives more conversation, while the Kendall Jenner part really fits into the global brand campaign for the partner.
I think it's short-sighted to ignore small to medium-sized creators for a few different reasons. One is, what's a view? What's a like? Does it matter if it came from a Charli D'Amelio, or does it matter if it came from somebody more niche? It's still a view, it's still a like. So as long as they have an engaged audience, I think it's smart to go about that. Number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, you're also getting people on the earlier side. There are so many people, I think you were referencing it, there are so many people that I've met very early on and given them an amazing opportunity, and then you're building a relationship that they'll remember that, they'll always remember that, and then they're gonna love your brand even more.
And they are the future of the creator economy. So I think that sort of creating a pathway and supporting them early on will pay dividends, especially in all of our careers and also for the brands that you're working with.
So no matter who the creator is, it's a delicate dance, though, when you're working with brands. How does the creator do what they do authentically? How does the brand get what they want in a perhaps inorganic suggestions? So how do you make that dance work as best as it can? What are the pitfalls to avoid? You may want to even speak to examples from your work.
So I actually have a really recent one. So we're having an event next Friday in New York, and we're looking for music talent. And I'm a fan of The Dare. I don't know if everyone's listened to The Dare. And so I was really excited to book The Dare as music talent. It's a little bit, the music, the lyrics, the album covers are a little bit racy. And so it was a very conscious, like, we don't normally ask the brand for this particular event their opinion, but inviting them into the conversation, it went against what I wanted, but ultimately it was the right decision. And then we landed on an up-and-coming artist who is actually a creator named Sandra. And we just announced her yesterday, and she's gonna perform next Friday. But that decision to work with a brand safe, creator-minded talent is far and beyond what we expected. She's excited because she's new to the sort of music scene, but she's able to work with us in a way that is safe and good for our partner, Universal Parks.
My biggest thing is not getting in creators' ways. I think that brands really screw themselves by doing that over and over again. So for us, when we're working with creators, they are creative people. So I hate when we give ideas to creators unless they're like minor thought starters. I want to get the creator's idea. So that's worked into all of our deals where we're getting their input. We're having meetings, we're brainstorming. I don't just want to be like, hey, creator, here's creative, we're just fitting you into it. I want to think first about, oh, I'm hiring this creator for a reason. I'm not just hiring them for their following. I'm hiring them because of the quality of video that they do or the type of video that they do. So it's always hard with our internal teams, but embrace the creator, embrace what they want to do. You stop them if it's going to make the brand look bad, but aside from that, I think it's a mistake to get super involved. An example from this past Monday's event, 2 massive creators came, and they came dressed as SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're huge creators. They're making a video for us. We didn't pay them to be there, but they were like giving the middle finger on the carpet, and they were trying to make it funny, and it's like, you can't do that at the Nickelodeon Animation Studio. So in that circumstance, I had to email the team and be like, hey, like, we loved having them there, but them swearing in the video next to the voice of SpongeBob isn't really gonna cut it. So I'll get involved that way, but aside from that, I don't want to get super highly involved in it as long as our objectives are being met.
Yeah, I think for us, like, for example, like a brand like GQ, when we work with creators, there's a brand guidelines, brand aesthetics that are sent out to the creators we work with. They're usually vetted up front by editorial, so we know that the kind of content that they create, how they style themselves, how they talk about whatever subject we're aligning them with the brand partnership aligns with GQ already, and so we already are kind of tucked in, and they're tucked in into how they're going to create and what they're going to create already, we know, feels like GQ. I think with a brand like Teen Vogue actually wants to celebrate individuality and who these people are. So it kind of opens the door more where we're looking at creators who come from a generation and tell stories the way they tell stories. And we have brands sort of, when we work with partnerships, it's sort of allowing the creator to create. Like they said, just be as authentic and do what they do best because that's what that audience is looking for.
Okay.
So to add on to this, we actually did a partnership with Instagram, and we had a list of talent, and one of the talent that we had on there was Offset. And we didn't think that Instagram was gonna wanna work with Offset. There was a lot of stuff in the news swirling around, and we were shocked that they chose Offset. And the great thing about it is Offset loves to play Madden, so we spend a lot of time in video games and entertainment. And the authenticity of the live stream that we produced, the quality of the content that we made, he was so excited because it was him talking trash to a professional gamer, and then they live streamed and he beat him and he just kept talking trash. And so the result of that, again, was like one of those things where we were negotiating with ourselves around brand safety, but we let the client decide, and their decision actually paid off.
Speaking of authenticity, notice how I nod very convincingly when you talk about the Dare and Offset like I know who they are, but just a tip for creators watching. In terms of working editorially, put the sponsor brands aside, your own editorial brands, I guess my question is how front and center are creators, say, relative to, I don't know, a year or 2 or 5 ago? Because it's a zero-sum game in my mind at the end of the day. The more creators come in, the more perhaps the established class of talent is crowded out. Or maybe I'm overstating it.
There are tons of statistics about who kids are paying attention to and teens are paying attention to and people in their early 20-somethings, and overwhelmingly it's showing creators. And I've read a ton of articles about it. I've seen the celebrities that are meaningful to kids, teens, early 20-somethings, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are sometimes eclipsed by creators. So for me, I started working at the company just on digital exclusive content for Nickelodeon and Comedy Central. Then I started working on linear content, then streaming, then brand partnerships, and now scripted. So for me, it's only getting more and more popular, especially within a traditional media company that's trying to really engage young audiences, middle-sized audiences, streaming platforms. Creators have just become more and more important.
And for Condé Nast, I mean, maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago, I would say, oh, those are magazine brands. They're not anymore.
Yeah.
They're digital first. Does that mean creators play a big role because it's digital first?
I think it depends. It honestly depends on the brand and it depends on the market. I think, for our bigger brands like Vogue, AD, GQ, it really is like celebrity led. It's kind of what our audiences come to us for. Brands like that lean on makers though. For video, Bon Appetit, Condé Nast Travel and travel influencers, that's where like really we bring creators in, and we want them making things, and we want to engage with our audience that way because that's what our audience is doing. They're not necessarily coming to Allure to find beauty because they're finding beauty everywhere. So how do we bring everywhere into Allure and give it its own lens? I think in the markets. Like Italy, for example, there are only a certain number of celebrities, and you kind of hit them all in a year. In all these markets, we're really changing our video strategy and our digital strategy to be like creator influencer first now, because there are so many high value influencers in Italy that we've never heard of but have so much value to that market. And while we are a global company and have global brands, we're starting to look at the power of that local story and being able to do that through video.
Let's talk more about the international side of it. I mean, I would assume there's some talent that are very regional popular and some that may transcend markets or even languages. Do you guys work with people like that?
I mean, we work with a lot of K-pop. And
Nodding once again.
Yeah, and everything that comes out of South Korea right now is global. Like the fandom is like much younger, and they actually scale across our entire portfolio. They can be on the cover of Vogue, and they can be doing like a small social series for Teen Vogue, and it just kills. And in every single market too.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the engagement around K-pop is insane. We brought a K-pop group to one of our events, and we gave some tickets away, like 300 tickets. We had 20,000 entries within like 30 minutes. Which we didn't expect. We thought we'd get like a couple thousand. So I think, yeah, the international, especially like in the Latin markets, just seeing this sort of explosion of Latin female artists, especially. I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm not working with them yet, but would love to.
And same thing, we're a global company. Our content goes globally, so we work with a lot of global creators. We bring people from all of our main territories globally to the Kids' Choice Awards every year. We do different regionalized versions of Kids' Choice Awards. Specifically, MTV has the EMEAs that we do every year. But I think in the US specifically, the Latinx market is incredibly important because it's so dominant in the US. And I want to make sure that every kid can see themselves on television or in digital or whatever way we work with them. So it's extremely important to show diversity, whether it's US based or globally for us.
So we've got about a minute left. Closing thoughts, looking ahead to 2025, things in this creator marketplace that are issues or challenges or opportunities that you think people need to keep an eye on? Anything jump to mind?
I mean, it goes a little bit for us back to authenticity. I think as a publisher, we have our eye very focused on like what AI is going to mean. I think for us, our value, our premium is our people. But I think when it comes to creators, a lot of creators jump on trends, and if a bunch of creators are all doing one trend, there's nothing truly special about that specific creator. So I think being incredibly authentic to who a creator is, creating really original content that defines them, becomes like a real value moving forward.
Yeah, I would say if you look at the creators as the fan, like from a fandom perspective, if we're making it for the creator, then they will be equally as excited as their fans. And so really sort of leaning into those long-term partnerships, and with the creator in mind.
Well, first off, I want to call out your parents are in the audience, and I think that that's such a cool thing. So I just wanted to
Stand
shout
up
that
and
out before
wave,
this ends.
please, so we could all thank you. You've done well.
I wasn't going to let you get away with it. So 3 really quick things. One is, I think, the rise of the anti-influencer, people that are girl next door, boy next door, they next door. I think that's going to be really big over across the next year, 2025. 2 is, I don't think TikTok's really getting banned, but I think that that will cause a little bit of interesting things in the marketplace, whether other different companies emerge or whether YouTube Shorts, Reels, whatever become more dominant. I'm curious to see what happens with that ban, even though I don't think it's really going anywhere. Both candidates are using it to market themselves, so it's hard to argue that you should ban it. And then the third thing is, I think and people don't like this answer, but a lot of amazing short form content creators, but I think everybody just wants to get back to long form. So I think you're gonna see that over the next year, getting more into those creators making longer form content. Because a lot of people in 2020 gained popularity and people care about them, but what's a way to extend that, make the money that they want to on YouTube, et cetera. So I think those 3 things will happen in 2025.
Well, I will close the panel by apologizing to you guys for failing to coordinate an all-black outfit with a beard, but I think this went okay anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mom.
El perreo contra la depresión. Esa vaina no se ve sin un blon.